Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new video. Before we start, I just wanted to say a couple of things. The first one is thank you so much for everybody who has been supporting and watching my videos. This has been an unreal, like an unimaginable amount of support and views, and we just got to 100 subscribers, and I just can't even believe it. I mean, I was just making videos for myself, so I'm glad that you like them, and I'm gonna keep on making more because I'm having a ton of fun making them. One of the other things is you might have noticed, or you didn't notice, and that's okay, that the channel name changed. So the name that I originally had whenever I first started uploading the videos was actually taken, and I just didn't do my research very well, and so we are going to stick with the name Suryaba. So that is a name that I've had for some time. It used to be a little bit different, but I can get into that some other day. But Suryaba in the new icon is what it is going to be moving forward. The last thing is that I'm planning on releasing videos probably about once a week. I am currently super backlogged on the recordings that I have because there's just so much stuff in the early game for me to record. So it's going to take me a little bit to catch up, but eventually the episodes will start coming out and they will be more relevant to the current time. So just to put into context, the clips that I have are from earlier this month, but it is about to be Halloween in a couple of days. So pretty far behind when it comes to timeline wise, but the episodes will catch up, don't worry. And one thing that is specific to this episode is that I mentioned it in the last one. The recordings for the audio are still a little bit weird, so a lot of this video is going to be voiceover. Don't worry, I'm going to be going back to mixed, where I'm going to be doing live commentary and voiceovers at the same time. In the next couple of episodes, this should be the last little bit of messed up audio clips. So thank you again, and here is episode 3. I just logged in and saw that Hero Pass going to. So that's pretty. I played with it for a grand total of 4 or 5 days, but you know, looks good. So head off. So we teleported ourselves to Lumbridge, and the first thing, of course, is to get the lodestone. Then we unlocked the Dwarven Axe, which is a nice starter item. We claimed the cape, which I don't know what it does. And then we looked at the brand new market area that is in Lumbridge, and it has plenty of places to start thieving. And thieving's nice because it can get us some starter seeds for farming and also some early food. Oh yes, I remember this. This was in the game before I quit. This penguins and evil trees. My gosh, I hope evil trees are still in the game because I actually. So let's go do agility. Get some bonus agility XP. The circus is important because it is one of the first of the distractions and diversions that were added to the game. I mentioned penguins and also the evil trees, but it was one of the first 3, and it is nice because it allows you to get tons of XP in agility, ranged, and doing bullseye and basically tricks. The agility is you do stuff on the tightrope, you do different tricks, and then the little magic tricks where you try and levitate and blast stuff with spells. The magic one didn't go super well for me because I had super low level magic, so I was just missing everything. Once we finished, we started back on our tasks, and we came across this statue, which I had mentioned before, and it allowed us to carve it and get some early construction XP, and then we could pray to the statue once we finished. Cool. So got level 3. I have 6 prayer. And I have heard it goes based off of your level. So I saw I should go do a Restless Ghost. So we started the Restless Ghost quest, which is usually the first quest that most players do. And it is a simple little quest where you talk to a priest and he says he has a ghost problem in his graveyard. So then you talk to this hermit that lives in the swamp. He gives you an amulet to talk to the ghost. And when you talk to the ghost, you ask him, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you leaving? And he said his head has been stolen. I'm in Lumbridge Swamp doing Restless Ghost. This? What is that? Oh. Cool. We find his head in a rock hidden by the mine, and we get attacked by a warlock. And after a little bit, I realized that with the Dwarven Army Axe, I was not doing any damage at all, so I just decided to surge on through him and just run away. We return the head to the ghost's body, to which he then flies away after telling us thank you, and leaves us with a whole bunch of goodies. So, we just completed the Restless Ghost, and you get the prayer XP, and then you get 5 bones. But I'm curious, if I rub the XP lamp, I'll get 125 XP. But then normally I would bury these. But what if I go and I put it on the Chaos Altar in the wilderness? Ah, big brain. So for those that don't know, there are specific altars in the game that allow you to use bones, which is a primary way of getting prayer XP, and use the bones on the altar for bonus, sometimes double, even triple XP, which you would normally get. So the idea is that if I use these special bones that already give a ton of XP, maybe I'll get way more. Okay, I've been tricked. I cannot use these bones on the altar. But normally you can, I'm assuming. Holy cow. I just got so many prayer levels. Wow. Alright, so I completed the Restless Ghost. Got to 12 prayer. Now let's see him. Got all the way up to 14 prayer. Wow. And right after we finished the statue, I saw another player grinding on the goblins over there, and he was wearing this cool armor and a cool two-handed sword, and I found out it was called the Pathfinder armor. And then we made our way to Archaeology, and this happened. Oops. So, yeah, we traveled to Varrock to the dig site to start the archaeology skill, and I accidentally cut down a tree and then burned the logs that I had and hit a major milestone of 100 total level. Now, with the Archaeology skill, it is actually super cool because what you do is you dig up different artifacts as well as pieces of other things. And sometimes you'll get dirt, so you have to pan through the dirt like I was in the clip. But you put all of the things together to make a finished artifact, and then you can turn those into the museum or some other things. And whenever I turned in the first one, she gave me a little green rock in return. I used the rock on this totem, to which the NPC acting guild leader was so surprised that it didn't die. But instead, I got a power, and the first power that you get gives you 500 more health. And that's really nice because that is basically the equivalent of getting 5 whole levels in the Constitution skill, which is basically your HP skill. And getting a bonus 500 in the early game is really nice considering I only had 1,000 health to begin with. So, after getting the new buff, they then showed me the guild headquarters, and they showed me that I could buy pneumatics, and the matic is the tool that you use to dig out the artifacts, as well as get the archaeology journal from this NPC named Ezreal, which I figured was a League of Legends reference. So I talked to him just to humor myself, and of course he told me that everything belongs in a museum, so cool League reference, I guess. And then I earned my first rank of intern, which is something that I guess I get more of over time, but I'm not so sure. I'm just an intern for now. After our very quick tutorial to archaeology, we were sent off to the first dig site, which is right outside of Al-Kharid. And in the desert, we are able to find new Zerosian, a different god, materials. Now, with archaeology, this is when it started to slow down a lot, like an unbearably slow pace. So this is 15 seconds of unedited just digging, and the bar on the top of my head is supposed to show you how close I am to the new material. It doesn't even move, dude. It is so slow. So I decided to go get a pneumatic to try and make it a little bit faster, but when I went to go purchase the Ironmatic, I realized it was about 3,000 gold, and I was broke. So I then traveled off to go get that Pathfinder armor from earlier so that I could get some early levels, stopping by Draenor and Port Sarim on the way to get their lodestones, and then got the Pathfinder armor from this NPC, which is from an old event, but not exactly sure, but I was able to get the armor for free, as well as this other helmet, which vaguely looks familiar, but I'm not super sure. It also gave me a two-handed sword, a bow, and a magical staff, as well as a ring and an amulet, which all have bonus stats, and it's good early game armor. Also looks pretty cool. After that, I started on my Slayer task, which ironically was cows. So I decided I was going to try and get some early combat, doing Slayer and some early money, and I could also just train up crafting, yes. I also smithed myself a new two-handed sword to get used to how the two-handed sword worked for the new one that I just got that I was not able to use. I then found out how to hide my helmet and found a backpack, which is something I really like. I like the idea of having a backpack and all of the stuff that's in my pocket on my back as it would realistically. Then while doing the Slayer task, I found a boss cow, which is kind of like the Slayer bosses from old school, but this one's a cow. So I was pretty surprised, but it was pretty cool, I guess. It was a little bit of a fight. It was pretty close because I didn't bring any food. Wasn't expecting to fight a boss. But as soon as I killed it, it dropped something really special. So, maybe not super special, but it just straight up dropped 5k coins, which I was not expecting to get, because I was kind of thinking that it was going to be a slow grind, but hey, 5k cash, I'll take it. I also then made myself a bronze scimitar, just to try out dual wielding a little bit more, grabbed a new Slayer task and was tasked with killing crawling hands. Now, in old school, these are a joke. They are basically the lowest level Slayer monster you can kill. They're super easy, but normally they're locked to Mauritania, but I was able to kill them here in Birthright. Now, it's a joke in old school. In Rs3, definitely not a joke. It destroyed me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come back to this. And decided to get started on the construction skill, where we traveled back to Port Sarim and then ran a little ways over to Remington to purchase ourselves a house. Now, the houses in RuneScape 3 and RuneScape in general are just super cool because the way that they work is they are a teleport to pretty much another dimension, and that dimension you own. So you get to make your own house. You can customize it any which way you want, and you're able to make furniture and different resources and different things inside of your house and decorate it however which way you want. And all I needed to do was basically learn how to build furniture. So I purchased my house. I came in and built a chair, which is the first thing that you generally build. And it usually takes a pretty long time, but remember we got a few levels in construction from that statue that we built earlier, so we were able to not bend as many nails on our first chair. We then planted a tree to complete the first task for the construction step. We then traveled over to Varrock to change our clothes finally, and found all of the old school clothes from old school RuneScape, and then the second generation of clothes and the third generation. So I settled on something that was from the second generation, I believe, and looked pretty cool. Then I had mentioned that I really wanted to do evil trees, and I kept talking about them. And I remembered that the spirit trees will actually tell you where the evil trees are. But when I got here, he didn't want to talk to me. And I realized that I had to do the Gnome Village quest in order to get the spirit tree to talk to me, to tell me where the evil trees were. So in order to start that, I needed to go on the other side of the world. So we again teleported back to Port Sarim and took a boat to Karamja. We ran through the jungles of Karamja. We passed over the volcano, which is very important and will come in later in the game. Passed through the City of Pirates and into Ardi or Ardougne, I'm not sure how to say it, and visited the player-owned farm, which is something that I'm also going to be starting. I just haven't gotten to it yet. While we're at the player-owned farm, the lodestone is actually conveniently located right out front, and we then learned about the penguins that I mentioned earlier. So the penguins are all over the world. You spy on them because they're spying on you, and you get some bonus XP. Then you have to run through this maze to get to the gnome village, and it's a little bit of a walk. I did get whopped by these hill giants. I came very close to dying because I was not paying attention. And then you enter through this little gate and start the quest. At the very start of the quest, we shoot a ballista randomly, just for fun. And then we also see the raptor again, who kills a gnome. But we have to talk to 3 different gnomes for coordinates to make sure that we shoot the ballista in the right spot, because we're trying to break down a wall. The reason that we're trying to break down the wall is it turns out that the humans have actually stolen the protection jewels for the tree gnome village. So there is one inside. So we break in and just get absolutely bodied because we get stun locked from telling the person that we're here for the orb. We find it on the roof, and then we just leave through the now seemingly unlocked door. Very cool. And whenever we get back to the village, we find out that the other 2 orbs were actually stolen while we were gone. So in order to get them back, we have to kill a pretty high-level NPC. So I actually took the time to level up my magic so that we could kill him a little bit easier without him fighting back. And we got our magic level up, and we're then able to use that brand new staff that we got. And the staff is really cool because it allows you to change the elements of the staff itself. And that's important because when you wield an elemental staff, it gives you unlimited runes of that type. Now, in order to get to this NPC, we had to run the gauntlet through all of these wolves, where I got very close to dying. Super, super close. But I was able to get away, heal up, rest up to get my run energy back. And then we're going to hide back in this back corner, and we are looking for the strong one. Now, the way that we're trying to do this is there is a way that you can attack him, and you will be out of his range. And so he will start to back up, which allows you to get free hits on him. So I tried to back myself into this corner and repeatedly attack him without him attacking me. So the moment he would come at me, I would run away. And then the moment that he would back away, I would start chasing him, and we would just do this dance back and forth. So one of the times I accidentally let him get away for too long, so he regenerated all of his health, but then he got stuck on one of his buddies, so I was able to just kind of sit here and get a bunch of hits in on him. And eventually we were able to take him down and retrieve the 2 orbs. Instead of teleporting out, I decided to run the gauntlet of the wolves again. And then we returned all of the orbs back to the gnomes and completed the Tree Gnome Village quest. So one of the reasons why I was super hesitant to do this quest and a few other quests that I had actually mentioned in a previous episode is that this quest alone gets you about 20 levels of attack XP. And so now we're up to 28, which is a huge jump. Now, I did notice that a lot of the different types of metals were rearranged, and so you get them at different levels than you do in old school. I believe this came hand in hand with the smithing rework that they did a while ago, I think. And so you have different tiers of weapons and armor. So I took a moment to look at those. And while we were looking at them, we were alerted for a wilderness event. Now, I was the only one to show up to this one. It's a little farming event where you have to help flowers and plants grow in the wilderness and try not to pick the poison ivy. You then pick the herbs and turn them back into this guy who's wanting them. You get a nice big chunk of farming XP, so I kind of waited around a little bit, and that got us to 8 farming, which is a huge boost. And then you also get these sacks of materials. So I got some seeds and then some obelisk shards, and so these shards allow you to teleport to the wilderness. And then the seeds I am not ready to plant yet. While we were right outside Varrock, we did the museum mini quest helping thing where there's all of these displays and you just basically help them correct the displays. And at the end of it, you get 9 Slayer and 9 Hunter worth of XP. Also outside, I remembered about this guy. So this is a statue of a mage that you randomly get pieces of him while you're doing skills. You then put the pieces together, and once you rebuild the mage, you get a huge chunk of XP. Then the last thing that we are going to do is we actually went to Anachronia. So this is the equivalent of Fossil Island in old school RuneScape, but instead of being fossils, it's actually live dinosaurs. So we got to the island, I got to see this cool cinematic, and I looked around a little bit and then realized that I did not bring any food at all. And I was very unprepared. So once the cutscene ended, I basically U-turned, went straight back to the boat and said, "Take me back to the dig site." So we got there. I realized I didn't really have any food, so I just cooked some beef that I got from our awesome Slayer task of cows earlier. And then we went back to Anachronia, where it made me watch the cutscene again, so you get to watch it in its entirety, in fast forward, basically. Not the whole thing, but this is the very end where we're actually getting chased down by a T-Rex thing. Not really sure what that is, but looking forward to doing whatever that is. And we got to learn that we actually get to rebuild like a fort outpost base thing on Anachronia, but you have to get resources. So the reason that I started this so soon is because you get resources over time. So while I'm making videos and not playing and doing all of those other things, it's generating resources, so I get like a super head start on this. So we set our town hall to build, and then we're just going to let our resources generate. All right, so that's where we're going to call this episode. So thank you so much for watching. And in the next video, we are going to continue gaining levels. We're going to work on a few more quests and just continue to explore what RuneScape 3 has to offer.